Welcome back. You here with Goldberg. Today we're going to be talking about the major in economics. Is it worth your time, money, and efforts? Now this is an interesting one because some folks will say economics is a science. Others look at the market with its irrationality, lack of rules, its fluctuations, and they go, nah, that belongs in the liberal arts category. But if you put all the liberal arts degrees together and you have economics on your resume, it's going to look a little bit stronger than, say, sociology or anthropology, simply because of the world in which we live, where everything is about productivity and serving corporations. So that is one thing to consider. At the same time, the actual economics degree is not going to be identical depending on which school you go to and the specific program. So most colleges are giving you essentially a Bachelor of Arts in Economics, theory, general interest, maybe you want to do it before law school or become an investment advisor. It could be called a Bachelor of Science if it's in a business school, but it's not at the same level of higher mathematics. That is where you're going for a Bachelor of Science on a research track. You're trying to become a Murray Rothbard, like a research economist. And that is something where it's a lot more difficult, it's more rigorous. Most people are not going to do well if you're not exceptionally good at mathematics. That's something where you might want to look at a polytechnical like a Caltech, Georgia Tech, or others before going to more of a graduate school in economics. I've seen a lot of people do that successfully. So it's just something to understand because not all economics degrees are the same. Looking at the BLS here real quick, we actually have pretty good growth if you want to be an economist. 14%, although it's not that many jobs. You have to look at the total number of jobs and then look, really consider that versus how many graduates you're going to have in the field. Also though, personal financial advisors, which is where a lot of guys with economics degrees end up, that has a slower growth rate, 4%, although, the jobs are pretty significant. So again, everything comes down to circumstance. The main thing with the financial advisors is a lot of it's becoming more digitized, robo-advisors. So whether you're going to have as many of those brick and mortar positions available is, somewhat questionable. And also understand that with advising, you oftentimes are just selling products, which is not necessarily in the interest of your customers. So that's just an ethical thing to consider before you want to go down that route. As far as good schools, now we see this list here, and yeah, Stanford, Harvard, Chicago is one of the best economic schools, but it's also very expensive. But then I saw they put Liberty University on the list, and I started laughing. Utah State, Nevertheless, if you're not going to an Ivy League and you really want to do, let's say, the research economics track because you just want to be an investment advisor, you don't have to go to an Ivy League. My advice would be go to a decent state school or polytechnical and just be involved in stuff. There's student investment groups. There are probably internships or research positions, independent study in your department. It's a good place to get, some credentials. Don't just do the classes and go home because that's not going to help you. If you do go into the financial certification route, there's a lot of them. Many are not necessarily worth all the paper they're printed on because there isn't a whole lot of oversight, so industries will just create whatsoever they choose. Accountant, well, in that case, you'd have to be probably double majoring in accounting or like taking a lot of those courses. CFP is a decent certification, and then also CFA is okay. But again, it comes down to, are you looking out for people or are you just essentially trying to sell products for your company? So there's a big difference because a product might have more fees than the person should really be paying for their investments. And I did put together this post last year, which probably has to be updated with more stuff, but if you're interested in economics, whether or not you're majoring in it, you should be reading all this, whether it's before you go to school, during school. You're not going to get this in the class. I mean, I remember back when we owned the restaurant, this dude comes in, he's all smart ass, oh yeah, I'm majoring in economics. And my dad said to him, okay, what do you think of Milton Friedman? There's just like a blank stare, no idea. Because these are the people who they read whatever is assigned in class and nothing else. So you got Ben Graham, Jeremy Siegel, Malkiel, Bogle, Roth, Mises, Varoufakis, Greenspan. I don't know if I have Michael Lewis on the list. That's another one you should be reading. Read Buffett. There's a lot of good information out there, and you don't want to rely on just that. If you're interested in the Austrian school, which is not often taught at the university level, the von Mises Institute has most of the ebooks for free. You can find videos online. I look into all different sectors. I've looked into social credit, distributism, Georgism. I'm trying to investigate more, just so that you have a broader view, because a lot of our educational system implies you have to be essentially an economic liberal, just to varying degrees. And then you realize, oh, there's more to economics than just what people say you have to be for the good of the economy and the corporations. It's just something to consider. There were some others here, but I don't like these lists because they basically just seem like they're content farms for universities, and they don't actually look at these specific programs. They just want to get clicks. So don't take that too seriously. Look into the specific programs. I mean, some that I know of, Grove City is okay. There's a professor that went to Caltech for his undergrad, I believe. And then he actually is at George Mason. He might be retired, but he's really well renowned. So look at who's on the faculty and who's graduated from there, and you can get a sense of whether this is actually worth pursuing. As far as potential jobs, you've got the World Bank if you're interested in the public policy research route. They've got internships. They have analyst programs, young professionals program. I've heard good things about working for the World Bank. It can be a really good opportunity to meet people and network. So look into that. This is more of a general, economics type internship. And obviously the dates will probably be expired by the time some of you get to this video, but this site is TFAS, Washington, D.C. internships. And some of them pay, some of them don't, but it's a good experience. Again, you might have to sacrifice a little bit of money for a few months because DC is expensive renting, but you never know where that can lead. Other places, Hudson Institute, Brookings, think tanks, American Enterprise Institute, Center for American Progress. I don't advise working for them, but maybe that's your political views, that's fine. Look for something that is more credible than just, okay, during the summer I worked retail. Nothing wrong with that, but you want to be building your repertoire of experience, and that's going to help you get a better job. And this is another one, an example, TD Ameritrade. If you want to go into investing, they have internships, they have emerging talent, the FCDA, where it's a 9-month training program. They give you your Series 766 and then put you to work in one of their branches. So like I said, the brick and mortar stuff might be on the down spiral in the future, but if you get in, you also have some IT skills. You can probably still build a decent career and maybe even set up shop for yourself. But I really emphasize, if you're going to do that, be an investment consultant, read those books I said, look into other stuff, be, that proper, I guess they call it a fiduciary, looking out for people, not just being a salesman for your company. So that's my thoughts on economics. If there's any other fields you want to see considered, just drop them below.